Welcome to Mafia Stories. Where are you listening from? Comment below and let the story begin. You know what's strange, Mr. Moretti? Gloria Bennett said, without looking up from the silver serving tray. For a man who owns a house this big, you sure don't leave much room for joy. Every sound in the breakfast room seemed to disappear. The antique clock kept ticking above the fireplace, but even that felt quieter as Vincent Moretti slowly lifted his eyes from the black coffee in front of him. For 9 years, nobody in his household had spoken to him that way. Nobody teased him. Nobody questioned the heavy silence he carried from room to room like a second coat. Staff members lowered their voices when he entered. Business associates measured every sentence. Even old friends had learned that laughter was a door Vincent no longer opened. Then Gloria arrived 3 weeks ago with soft brown eyes, a practical gray uniform, and a figure the employment agency had described with the carefully neutral phrase plus size. Gloria herself had laughed when she heard it. She had spent 43 years living inside that body. She had no interest in apologizing for the space she occupied. That confidence confused the Moretti household almost as much as her habit of humming Motown songs while polishing furniture that cost more than her car. This morning, sunlight poured through 12-foot windows and turned the marble floor pale gold. Vincent sat at the end of a table built for 20, alone as usual, surrounded by untouched fruit, warm pastries, and silence. Gloria moved around him collecting dishes when she noticed the small plate beside his elbow. One blueberry muffin remained untouched. "You don't like muffins?" she asked. Vincent glanced at her. "I don't like breakfast." "You eat breakfast every morning." "I sit at breakfast every morning." Gloria considered that distinction, then nodded as though he had presented serious evidence in court. "Fair enough." Vincent returned to his coffee. Gloria reached for the muffin. Her hand stopped. A tiny paper flag had been pushed into the top by someone in the kitchen. "Happy birthday," it read in crooked blue letters. Vincent saw her expression change. "Remove it." "It's your birthday?" "Remove it, Gloria." His voice remained calm, but something colder settled beneath it. She looked at the little flag, then at the enormous room with its carved ceiling, imported rug, and chairs nobody ever used. "How old?" "That is not your concern." 50. His eyes sharpened. 41. Gloria blinked. "Well, thank goodness. I was about to recommend better moisturizer." The words escaped before caution could catch them. 2 staff members near the doorway froze. Vincent's hand stopped halfway toward his cup. Gloria finally realized what she had said. She pressed her lips together, lowered her gaze, and waited for the reprimand everyone expected. Instead, something unfamiliar moved across Vincent Moretti's face. It began near his eyes, almost invisible, then reached the corner of his mouth. A sound followed, rough and brief, as though it had forgotten how to exist. Gloria looked up. One of the staff members covered her mouth. Vincent stared at the table, apparently more startled than anything. He had laughed. Not politely, not for appearances, really laughed. And for the first time in 9 years, the house heard the sound its owner had buried with everything he refused to remember. For several seconds, nobody moved. Vincent Moretti seemed almost offended by the sound that had escaped him, as though laughter were an unauthorized guest that had somehow entered his home without permission. Gloria Bennett kept her expression composed, but the warmth in her eyes betrayed her. She had seen men hide embarrassment behind anger before, and she knew better than to embarrass him further. She simply removed the tiny birthday flag from the muffin, placed it beside his plate, and said, 41 is not so terrible. You still have time to learn how breakfast works." Vincent looked at her again. This time, the corner of his mouth threatened to move, but he stopped it. "You are unusually comfortable speaking without permission." Gloria lifted the silver tray. "I have spent most of my life waiting for permission, Mr. Moretti. It never improved anything." Then she walked toward the kitchen, leaving 2 stunned employees and 1 powerful man staring after her. The moment Gloria crossed through the swinging door, the kitchen erupted into whispers. Maria, the longtime cook, caught her by the wrist. "Do you understand what you just did?" Gloria glanced back toward the dining room. "I collected breakfast. You made him laugh." Maria lowered her voice until it was barely audible. Nobody has heard that in years. Gloria's expression softened. She had noticed the sadness in Vincent from her first morning at the estate. It was there in the way he occupied rooms without ever seeming present inside them. In the untouched piano beneath the staircase, in the family photographs that ended abruptly almost a decade earlier. She had never asked questions. People deserved privacy, especially when grief had already taken enough from her. Still, she knew loneliness when she saw it. Gloria had carried her own after her husband, Samuel, died 5 years earlier. She remembered months when getting dressed felt unnecessary because nobody was waiting to see her. She remembered eating dinner beside an empty chair until one evening she became angry at herself for setting 2 plates. Grief could make a person mistake survival for living. Back in the breakfast room, Vincent remained seated long after everyone disappeared. His coffee had gone cold. Across the table sat that ridiculous paper flag. Happy birthday. He picked it up between 2 fingers. 9 years earlier, birthdays had meant music echoing through the house, crowded tables, and a woman who believed candles were mandatory regardless of age. After she was gone, Vincent had ordered the celebration stopped. No cake, no decorations, no congratulations beyond what business etiquette demanded. Silence became easier than remembrance. Yet that morning, a housekeeper who had known him for 21 days had cracked through something hundreds of careful conversations had failed to reach. Later that afternoon, Gloria was dusting the library when she heard footsteps behind her. She turned and found Vincent standing in the doorway without his jacket, looking less like the distant owner of the estate and more like a man uncertain why he had come. Gloria. Yes, Mr. Moretti. He hesitated, which surprised her more than any command could have. Maria. Says you baked the muffins. Gloria nodded. Most of them. She handled the batch I accidentally ruined. You ruined a batch? Even excellent people have difficult mornings. A faint softness passed through his face. Then he held out the small blue birthday flag. Tomorrow, he said, leave this off my plate. Gloria accepted it carefully. Of course. Vincent turned away, took 2 steps, then stopped. But the muffin can stay. Gloria watched him disappear down the hallway, and only then allowed herself to smile. The next morning, Gloria found the breakfast room changed in one almost invisible way. The blueberry muffin remained beside Vincent Moretti's coffee, untouched at first, but the paper flag was gone. She said nothing. Neither did he. For the next several days, that became their strange little agreement. Gloria would leave one muffin. Vincent would pretend not to notice it. By the time she returned to clear the table, only crumbs remained. The rest of the household noticed too, although nobody dared mention it. Maria simply began baking an extra batch every Wednesday. Vincent, meanwhile, discovered that Gloria was impossible to ignore even when she was trying to be quiet. She sang softly while arranging flowers, argued with the old vacuum cleaner as if it had personally offended her, and once spent 15 minutes explaining to a delivery driver why placing 6 boxes directly in front of the kitchen door was a poor life decision. None of it was disrespectful. That was what unsettled him. Gloria treated everyone with the same steady dignity, from the gardener to the accountant to Vincent himself. She did not become smaller around wealth. She did not become louder around weakness. One rainy afternoon, Vincent returned earlier than expected and found her in the music room, standing beside the grand piano with a dust cloth in one hand. The instrument had not been opened in years. You play? He asked from the doorway. Gloria turned quickly, not well enough to charge admission. That was not my question. She studied him for a moment, then rested the cloth on a nearby table. A little. My husband taught me. Vincent's gaze shifted toward the piano. Samuel? Gloria was surprised he remembered the name. Yes. You mentioned him to Maria? Maria has excellent ears. Maria has no concept of confidentiality. Gloria smiled. That too. Vincent stepped farther into the room. The piano's polished black surface reflected the gray afternoon beyond the windows. Why did you stop? He asked. Gloria looked at the closed lid. Because after Samuel passed away, every song sounded like something missing. The answer landed more heavily than she intended. Vincent became still. Gloria immediately understood she had touched a place he guarded closely. I am sorry, she said. I did not mean to bring up anything difficult. You did not. His reply came too quickly. Rain tapped against the glass. Somewhere deeper in the house, a clock marked the quarter hour. Gloria reached for her dust cloth, but Vincent spoke again. My wife played. Gloria did not move. It was the first time he had mentioned her. Her name was Elena, he continued. She believed this room should always have music. Gloria kept her eyes on the piano rather than on him. giving him the privacy of not being watched while he remembered. She sounds like someone I would have liked. Vincent's expression shifted with something fragile and distant. Everyone liked the ring. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Gloria lifted the piano lid carefully and pressed one key. A single clear note traveled across the room. Vincent's shoulders tightened, but he did not leave. Gloria pressed another, then another, forming the beginning of an old soul melody Samuel used to play after Sunday dinner. She made it through 6 notes before striking the wrong key. The sour sound broke the solemnity instantly. Gloria frowned at the piano. Samuel would be deeply disappointed. Vincent looked at her. That was terrible. Gloria turned slowly. I thought grief was supposed to make people kinder. Not that kind. His mouth curved before he could stop it. Gloria stared at him, delighted. Careful, Mr. Moretti. That almost looked like a smile. Vincent shook his head, but this time he did not hide it fast enough. And standing beside a piano that had been silent for nearly a decade, Gloria realized she was not bringing happiness into that house. She was simply reminding it where happiness had been waiting. By the end of that week, the music room had become the one place in the Moretti estate where silence no longer felt like a rule. Gloria never asked Vincent to join her there, and he never admitted that he had begun timing his afternoon coffee so he could pass the doorway while she practiced. Most days she played only a few minutes, stumbling through old melodies with stubborn determination, stopping whenever her fingers forgot what Samuel had taught her. Vincent would linger nearby under increasingly weak excuses. Once he claimed he was checking the thermostat. Another time he inspected a bookshelf that had not moved in 15 years. Gloria noticed everything and commented on nothing. Then, on Friday evening, the estate filled with guests for a private business dinner. Cars rolled beneath the covered entrance while men and women in tailored suits crossed the foyer carrying polished smiles and expensive confidence. Gloria helped Maria prepare the dining room, setting crystal glasses beneath warm chandelier light and arranging white roses along the center of the table. She preferred evenings like this because work kept her moving. Busy hands left little room for memory. Just before dinner, however, one of Vincent's longtime associates entered the kitchen looking for him and stopped when he saw Gloria carrying a tray. His eyes traveled over her uniform, then paused with a faint expression of amusement. Moretti hired you? He asked. Gloria balanced the tray against her hip. That appears to be the arrangement. The man smiled as though she had performed for him. You certainly bring personality to the place. Gloria had heard that tone before. Too polite to challenge directly, too dismissive to mistake for kindness. She answered with the calm she had spent decades earning. A house this large can use some. Before he could respond, Vincent appeared behind him. He had heard enough to understand the shape of the exchange. Daniel, he said evenly. The dining room is through the west hall. Daniel turned, surprised. I was only making conversation. Then make better conversation. Nothing in Vincent's voice rose above normal volume, yet the atmosphere changed instantly. Daniel gave a small shrug and left. Gloria continued arranging the tray as though nothing had happened. Vincent remained near the doorway. You could have said something. I did. You know what I mean. Gloria finally looked at him. Mr. Moretti, I have been a large black woman in America for a very long time. If I stopped working every time someone decided my body was their business, I would never finish a shift. Vincent's expression tightened, not with pity, but with recognition. That does not make it acceptable. No, Gloria replied. It makes it familiar. The word stayed with him through dinner. He watched people laugh around his table, watched Daniel tell stories loudly enough to command attention, watched empty compliments move from one seat to another. For years, Vincent had believed power meant controlling the room. Gloria possessed something different. She could stand inside judgment without surrendering herself to it. After the guests departed, Vincent found her collecting glasses near midnight. You should leave those for the morning. Gloria glanced at the clock. Maria will blame me if she finds fingerprints dried onto crystal. Maria works for me. Maria frightens you too. Vincent almost objected, then stopped. Gloria raised one eyebrow. That did it. A laugh escaped him, warmer and longer than before. He placed one hand against the back of a chair, shaking his head while Gloria smiled across the table. And this time, when the sound faded, Vincent did not look ashamed of it. Something shifted after that Friday night, not dramatically enough for anyone to name, but clearly enough for the household to feel. Vincent began staying at breakfast longer. Gloria started finding the newspaper folded beside his plate instead of abandoned on the far end of the table. Once, when she entered carrying coffee, he asked whether she had slept well. The question was so ordinary that she nearly dropped the pot. "Are you feeling all right, Mr. Moretti?" she asked. Vincent frowned. "Why would you ask that? You just inquired about my well-being before 8 in the morning. I wanted to rule out a fever." He stared at her for 1 second, then shook his head. "Pour the coffee, Gloria." She did, hiding a smile. Yet beneath their growing ease, Vincent noticed something she worked hard to conceal. Every Tuesday afternoon, Gloria checked her phone more often. Her cheerful humming disappeared. She moved through the estate with the same efficiency, but a quiet tension settled across her face. On the third Tuesday, he found her sitting alone on the back steps during her break, holding an unopened envelope. The autumn air had turned cool, and fallen leaves gathered along the stone walkway. "You have been staring at that for 5 minutes," he said. Gloria looked over her shoulder. "Do you always monitor your employees during lunch?" "Only the suspicious ones." "Then your standards have fallen considerably." Vincent sat on the opposite end of the wide step, leaving several feet between them. Gloria turned the envelope over in her hands. It came from a medical center in Chicago. Vincent noticed the return address, but did not ask. She finally opened it, read 3 lines, and released a breath so slowly it seemed to empty years from her chest. "Everything all right?" he asked. Gloria folded the paper carefully. "My daughter is having surgery next month." Vincent had never heard her mention a daughter. "Is she sick?" "Nothing immediately dangerous. She needs a procedure that should help her walk without constant pain." Gloria looked toward the garden. "Her insurance covers most of it." Most is a very flexible word. Vincent understood money better than nearly anyone he knew, but he also understood pride. Offering help too quickly would make the conversation about his wealth instead of her worry. "Does she live nearby?" 27 miles away. She is 30 years old, stubborn, brilliant, and convinced she does not need her mother. "Does she?" Gloria gave him a look. "Everyone needs their mother." Vincent almost smiled. Then her expression changed. "I took this job because it pays enough for me to help without making her feel like a burden." There was no self-pity in her voice. Only resolve. Vincent thought of all the times he had mistaken her humor for simplicity. Gloria carried responsibilities he had never bothered to imagine. Yet she entered his house each morning bringing warmth as if life had handed her nothing heavy. "You should take the day of the surgery off," he said. Gloria glanced at him. "I was going to request it." "You are not requesting it. You are taking it. Paid." Vincent looked offended. "Obviously." Gloria narrowed her eyes playfully. "That sounded almost generous. Do not ruin the moment." She laughed, and this time he joined her without hesitation. Neither noticed Maria watching from the kitchen window, smiling at something the entire estate had begun to understand before Vincent did. Gloria had not changed the man by forcing open his guarded heart. She had simply treated him like a human being until he remembered he still was one. The morning of her daughter's surgery arrived before sunrise, and for the first time since Gloria had joined the household, the kitchen felt wrong without her voice in it. Maria prepared coffee in complete silence, while Vincent Moretti stood near the window, reading the same page of a financial report for nearly 10 minutes. He had told himself Gloria's absence should not matter. Employees took days off. Houses remained standing. Breakfast still appeared on time. Yet the blueberry muffin beside his plate looked strangely unfinished without her dry commentary attached to it. At 8:30, Vincent finally closed the report. "Has Gloria called?" Maria kept her attention on the stove. "Not me." "Did she say how long the procedure would take?" "Around 3 hours." Vincent checked the clock despite already knowing the time. Maria turned then, studying him with open amusement. "You could send her a message. I do not interfere in private matters." "You asked me 4 questions about her private matter before finishing half a cup of coffee." Vincent gave her a warning look. Maria merely smiled and returned to the skillet. 27 miles away, Gloria sat in a hospital waiting room beneath fluorescent lights that made everyone look more tired than they felt. Her daughter, Renee, had been taken back 20 minutes earlier. Gloria held Renee's purse in her lap, along with a paper cup of coffee she had forgotten to drink. She had spent the morning being strong because mothers were expected to be strong, especially when their children were frightened. Renee had squeezed her hand before the nurse wheeled her away. Mama, stop looking at me like that. I am coming back. Gloria had smiled. You better. I did not drive all this way to steal your purse. Now that she was alone, the joke offered little protection. Her phone vibrated. She expected Maria. Instead, the screen showed Vincent's name. For several seconds, Gloria simply stared at it. The message was short. I hope everything goes smoothly today. Gloria read it twice, then typed back. Thank you. You survived breakfast without me? His answer came less than a minute later. Barely. Maria attempted conversation. Gloria covered her mouth to keep from laughing loudly in the waiting room. She replied, be brave. By noon, the surgeon finally appeared and told Gloria the procedure had gone exactly as planned. The relief moved through her so suddenly that she had to sit down. Renee would need several weeks of recovery, physical therapy, and patience, but the worst uncertainty had passed. Gloria closed her eyes and whispered a quiet thank you. When she returned to the estate the following morning, Maria embraced her before she could remove her coat. Vincent was already seated at breakfast. Gloria entered carrying the coffee pot as though nothing had changed. Good morning, Mr. Moretti. He looked up immediately. How is Renee? Gloria paused. He remembered her name. Doing well. Complaining already, which means she is herself again. Vincent nodded once, visibly relieved. Good. Gloria approached the table and noticed 2 blueberry muffins beside his plate. She looked from them to him. 2. Vincent unfolded his newspaper. Maria made too many. From the kitchen doorway, Maria shook her head vigorously. Gloria fought a smile. Of course she did. Vincent kept his eyes on the paper, but Gloria noticed that one muffin had already been cut neatly in half. The other remained untouched on a small plate across. From him. Are you expecting someone? She asked. Vincent lowered the newspaper. Sit down for 5 minutes. Gloria stared at the empty chair. No employee had ever been invited to breakfast with him. I am working. You are also drinking coffee before you drop something expensive. She looked at the pot in her hand, then at him. That happened once. Twice. Gloria sat. Vincent pushed the untouched muffin toward her without ceremony. Outside, morning lights spread across the grounds, and somewhere near the music room, an old clock struck 9. Nothing extraordinary happened. 2 people simply shared breakfast at a table built for 20. Yet for Vincent, who had spent years believing closeness always ended in loss, those 5 quiet minutes felt more dangerous than loneliness, and somehow far more necessary. The 5-minute breakfast became 7 minutes the next morning, then 12 by the end of the week, though neither Gloria nor Vincent ever acknowledged the pattern. She would finish setting the table, glance toward the empty chair, and find a second cup already waiting. Vincent would pretend the arrangement had happened by accident. Gloria allowed him the dignity of the lie. One Monday morning, however, the chair remained empty. Vincent noticed immediately. Where is Gloria? He asked Maria. Upstairs. Why? Maria hesitated. Wardrobe issue. Vincent lowered his newspaper. What does that mean? Before Maria could answer, Gloria entered carrying a basket of folded linens. She wore the same gray uniform as always, but a dark cardigan had been buttoned tightly over it despite the warm house. Her usual easy stride had vanished. Vincent watched her cross the room. You are late. Gloria set the basket down. 3 minutes. You are never 3 minutes late. Then perhaps history has been made. She reached for the coffee, but Vincent noticed her avoiding his eyes. What happened? Nothing. Maria suddenly became very interested in the fruit bowl. Vincent looked between them. Gloria sighed. The agency sent new uniforms. And whoever designed them apparently believes every woman on earth is built from the same blueprint. Vincent did not understand until Gloria opened the cardigan slightly. The replacement uniform pulled awkwardly across her shoulders and waist, clearly several sizes too small. She closed the sweater again. I asked for the correct size. They said this was the largest they stocked. Vincent's face changed. Who said that? It does not matter. It matters if you are expected to work in something that does not fit. Gloria gave a tired smile. Welcome to being plus size, Mr. Moretti. Chairs, uniforms, airplane seats, department stores. The world sometimes acts surprised that people like me exist. There was humor in her voice, but not enough to hide the humiliation underneath. Vincent had heard Gloria dismiss careless remarks before. This felt different. Someone had reduced her dignity to a measurement and expected her to quietly endure it. He reached for his phone. Gloria immediately raised a hand. Do not turn this into an international crisis. I was going to call the agency. Exactly. They employ you. You employ me. Vincent stopped. Gloria held his gaze. If you want to help, do not punish somebody. Fix the problem. The simplicity of it unsettled him. For most of his adult life, Vincent had solved disrespect by removing people from his world. Gloria was asking him to build something better instead. He placed the phone down. What would fix it? Uniforms made for the people wearing them. All staff. All staff. Vincent glanced toward Maria. Get everyone's correct measurements. Order whatever sizes they actually need. Better fabric, too. Maria smiled. I can do that. Gloria blinked. That was easier than expected. Vincent looked at her cardigan. You expected an argument? You enjoy arguments. I enjoy winning them. Same thing, with better tailoring. Vincent laughed before he could stop himself. Gloria smiled, but this time the moment carried something deeper than amusement. 3 days later, new uniforms arrived in every size requested, each altered for comfort instead of conformity. Gloria ran her fingers over the soft fabric and found a handwritten card tucked beneath hers. It contained only 4 words. You deserve to fit. She looked across the foyer, where Vincent stood speaking with an accountant. He never glanced toward her. He did not need to. For the first time in years, someone with power had listened without making her pain perform for him. And Gloria understood that Vincent was changing in a way even he had not yet recognized. The new uniforms changed more than the way the staff looked. People stood straighter. Maria stopped tugging at sleeves that had always been too narrow. Thomas, the groundskeeper, finally received work shirts long enough to stay tucked when he bent down. Gloria noticed the difference immediately, but what mattered most was that Vincent never announced what he had done. There was no speech, no display, no expectation of gratitude. He simply corrected something that should have been right from the beginning. A week later, Gloria was reorganizing a cabinet beside the music room when she found a small wooden recipe box pushed behind a stack of old table linens. Dust covered the lid. Inside were handwritten cards in faded blue ink, each labeled with names like Sunday lasagna, lemon chicken, Christmas cookies, and Vincent's birthday cake. Gloria froze at the last one. The handwriting was graceful, slightly slanted, with tiny notes squeezed into the margins. Add extra vanilla because Vincent pretends he cannot taste the difference. Gloria smiled before noticing the name written on the inside of the lid. Elena Moretti. She closed the box immediately. Some things were not hers to touch. Still, when Maria entered carrying clean napkins, Gloria quietly showed her what she had found. Maria's face changed. I thought that was gone. Should I put it back? Maria ran one finger across the lid. Elena used to cook when she wanted the house to feel normal. Vincent hated people in her kitchen because she made everyone help. Gloria glanced toward the birthday cake card. Did she really make his cake? Every year. Maria paused. Until the last one. Gloria understood without asking. She returned the box to the cabinet, but the thought stayed with her for days. Vincent had spent nearly a decade protecting himself from reminders, yet the reminders had never disappeared. They were simply waiting. Behind doors he refused to open. On Sunday afternoon, Gloria found him in the library reviewing paperwork. I need to ask you something. Vincent looked up. That sentence usually costs me money. Then prepare yourself emotionally. She placed Elena's recipe box on the desk. Vincent went completely still. The ease disappeared from his face so quickly that Gloria regretted bringing it. His fingertips hovered above the wood without touching it. Where did you find this? Near the music room. Put it away. Gloria nodded. I will. She picked up the box, but before she reached the door, Vincent spoke again. Wait. She turned. He was staring at the desk. What is inside? Gloria hesitated. Recipes. I know that. His voice softened. Which ones? Gloria returned and placed the box between them. Vincent opened it himself. For several minutes, he read without speaking. Then he found the birthday cake card. Something in his expression broke open, not painfully, but honestly. She always added too much vanilla, he murmured. Gloria leaned against the edge of the desk. According to her notes, you were the problem. Vincent read the margin, and a breath of laughter escaped him. Then another. His eyes remained on Elena's handwriting. She wrote that. Your wife appears to have documented your flaws thoroughly. He laughed again, quieter this time, carrying memory instead of surprise. Gloria watched carefully. There is something else. Vincent looked at her. What? I want to make the cake. His smile disappeared. Gloria expected refusal. Instead, he looked back at the card for a long moment. Why? Because remembering somebody should not belong only to sadness. The room became motionless. Gloria did not explain further. She did not need to. Vincent finally slid the card toward her. Extra vanilla, he said. Gloria picked it up. I was planning to follow instructions. For once. She gave him an offended look, and the laugh that followed reached the hallway, where Maria stopped mid-step and closed her eyes with a smile. Gloria chose Saturday morning for the cake because the estate was quieter then, and because she suspected Vincent might find an excuse to disappear if she gave him too much warning. By 8 o'clock, the kitchen smelled of butter, vanilla, and fresh coffee. Maria stood nearby, pretending not to supervise while Gloria studied Elena's handwritten card for the 5th time. 2 teaspoons, Gloria murmured. Maria shook her head. Elena always used 3. Gloria pointed at the note in the margin. It says extra vanilla. 3 is extra. 4 is commitment. Maria laughed. Now I understand why Vincent likes you. Gloria paused, then returned to measuring flour. Vincent does not like people. He tolerates us selectively. Neither woman noticed him standing just outside the kitchen until he spoke. I am reconsidering that tolerance. Gloria turned with a wooden spoon in her hand. Good morning. You are early. I live here. Still early. Vincent stepped inside, his attention drifting toward the counter where Elena's recipe card rested beside a bowl of batter. For a moment, memory softened his features. Gloria did not rush to fill the quiet. She simply handed him the spoon. Taste. He stared at it. Before it is baked? That is how civilized people make cake. That sounds medically questionable. One taste will not destroy your empire. Vincent accepted the spoon with obvious suspicion, tried the batter, and frowned. Gloria waited. Too much vanilla, he said. Maria burst out laughing. Gloria folded her arms. Your wife warned me you would say that. Vincent looked at the card again, and this time the sadness in his eyes arrived beside something warmer. She used to make me taste everything, he said. Then she would ignore my opinion. Smart woman. You would have gotten along. The words left him naturally, but Gloria heard the weight beneath them. She smiled gently. I think so too. An hour later, the cake emerged slightly uneven, golden at the edges, with a center that had risen higher than Gloria expected. It has personality, she declared. Vincent studied it. It is leaning. So are several buildings in Europe. People travel thousands of miles to admire them. Maria covered her face to hide her laughter. Gloria prepared a simple vanilla frosting while Vincent remained in the kitchen, something he had not done since Elena was alive. He asked where the mixing bowls were kept. He carried plates to the breakfast room. He even attempted to smooth one section of frosting before Gloria took the spatula away from him. You negotiate million-dollar deals with those hands? She asked. Apparently, frosting requires specialized training. Finally, something money cannot solve. By noon, staff members had gathered around the smaller dining table. Gloria placed the cake in the center without candles, decorations, or ceremony. This was not a birthday celebration. It was something quieter. Vincent understood that. He cut the first slice himself. The moment he tasted it, he stopped chewing. Everyone watched without speaking. Gloria's confidence faded. Is it terrible? Vincent looked down at the plate. His eyes shone, but his expression remained steady. No. He took another bite. It tastes almost exactly like hers. Gloria lowered herself into the chair beside Maria. Vincent closed his eyes briefly, and for the first time, remembering Elena did not seem to take something from him. It gave something back. Then Thomas tried his slice and said, I think 4 teaspoons of vanilla might have been ambitious. Gloria turned toward him in disbelief. You are welcome to stop eating. Thomas immediately protected his plate with both hands. Vincent laughed so suddenly that everyone else followed. The sound spread through the room, not careful, not restrained, but full and alive. Gloria watched him lean back in his chair, laughing among people he had once treated as shadows, and she realized the impossible thing had never been making a grieving man smile. It had been convincing him that happiness was not a betrayal of the person he had lost. After that Saturday, laughter stopped feeling like an accident in the Moretti estate. It appeared in small places, sometimes over breakfast, sometimes when Gloria misremembered a piano chord, sometimes when Maria complained that nobody respected her kitchen rules. Vincent never became loud or easygoing, and Gloria never expected him to. What changed was simpler. He stopped treating happiness as something that required permission. A few days later, Gloria arrived to find 3 unfamiliar cars outside the house, and several executives gathered in the formal dining room. Vincent was hosting a luncheon for a charitable foundation his company had supported for years. Gloria moved quietly between the kitchen and dining room until one woman near the end of the table noticed her. Eleanor Price was elegant, silver-haired, and accustomed to being listened to. She watched Gloria place a water pitcher near Vincent, then smiled toward him. "You have changed the atmosphere here," Eleanor said. Vincent glanced up. "Have I? The last time I visited, this place felt like a museum." Her eyes moved toward Gloria. "Now your staff seems unusually comfortable." Gloria continued toward the doorway. Eleanor added, "Whatever you are paying your housekeeper, apparently it includes entertainment." The comment sounded harmless enough to invite polite laughter, and 2 guests provided it. Gloria stopped. Vincent did not. He set his fork beside his plate with deliberate care. "Gloria does not entertain me." Eleanor blinked. "Vincent, I was joking." "Then the joke should be funny." The table quieted. Gloria turned back, but Vincent was already looking directly at Eleanor. "She runs part of this household, helps care for the people in it, and has shown more judgment in a month than some professionals show in years. If you want to compliment her, do it without reducing her to my amusement." Nobody reached for a glass. Nobody shifted a chair. Gloria felt every eye in the room turned toward her, and she hated it. Not because Vincent had defended her, but because she had spent too much of her life becoming visible only when someone else decided to make a point. She placed the pitcher down. "Mr. Moretti." Vincent looked at her. "May I say something?" "Of course." Gloria faced Eleanor. "I know you were trying to be playful, but sometimes people like me are expected to make everyone comfortable before we are allowed to belong in the room. We smile when something hurts. We laugh when something embarrasses us. We make ourselves easy to accept." Eleanor's expression changed. Gloria continued calmly. "I am not angry. I would just rather be respected than considered charming." The silence that followed felt different from embarrassment. It felt like understanding beginning reluctantly. Eleanor lowered her eyes. "Then I owe you an apology." Gloria nodded. "Thank you." That was all. No humiliation. No punishment. No victory performed for an audience. The luncheon continued, but the tone had shifted. After the guests left, Vincent found Gloria stacking plates in the kitchen. "You could have let me handle that." She looked over her shoulder. "You were handling it. And you were about 3 sentences away from making everyone terrified to speak." Vincent considered this. "Was I wrong?" "No. You were protecting me." Gloria set down a plate. "But protecting someone does not mean taking away their voice." Vincent became quiet. He had spent years believing care meant control, that if he could manage every detail, nothing precious would ever be lost again. Gloria had just shown him another possibility. "I understand," he said. She studied him, surprised by how easily the words came. "That might be the most impressive thing you have said since I started working here." "More impressive than asking you to sit at breakfast?" "Much." Vincent smiled. Gloria returned to the dishes. Then he reached for a towel and began drying the plates beside her. She stared at him. "What are you doing?" "Apparently learning." Gloria handed him another plate. "Try not to drop anything expensive." "You say that as though I cannot afford another one." She shook her head. "Still so much work to do." Vincent laughed, and this time Gloria did not join immediately. She simply listened, realizing that the sound no longer belonged to a man escaping grief. It belonged to a man returning to life. The following Thursday, Vincent returned home before sunset and found the estate unusually quiet. Gloria was not in the breakfast room, not in the kitchen, and not near the music room where she sometimes practiced after finishing her work. He told himself he was only noticing because routines mattered, but when Maria said Gloria had gone upstairs to pack her things, the explanation collapsed. "Pack what things?" Vincent asked. Maria looked at him carefully. "Her things." He did not wait for more. He crossed the foyer, climbed the staircase, and found Gloria in the small staff room near the east hallway folding clothes into an old brown suitcase. Her new uniform hung neatly from a hook. The sight of it made something inside him tighten. "What is this?" Gloria did not turn immediately. "Packing." "I can see that." "Then we are making progress." Normally, her answer would have earned a smile. This time it did not. Vincent stepped farther inside. Why are you leaving? Gloria placed a sweater into the suitcase and smoothed it flat. Renee needs help for a while. Her recovery is going slower than expected, and physical therapy is harder on her than the doctors thought. Take more time off. It is not just a few days. Gloria finally faced him. She needs somebody there every morning. Somebody to drive her, cook for her, make sure she does not pretend she is stronger than she feels. Vincent answered immediately. Then take a month. Gloria shook her head. I cannot ask the household to hold my position indefinitely. You are not asking. The old authority entered his voice before he noticed it. Gloria heard it. Her expression softened, but she did not bend. There it is. What? The part of you that thinks every problem becomes simple if you give an order. Vincent went still. Gloria sat on the edge of the bed. You have been kind to me, more than you know. But Renee is my daughter. I spent years putting work first because bills did not care about birthdays or exhaustion. I am not doing that now. I am not asking you to. You are trying to solve the decision because you do not like what it means. Vincent looked toward the suitcase. He hated how precisely she understood him. And what does it mean? Gloria's eyes grew gentle. That sometimes people leave without abandoning you. The words reached the place he guarded most fiercely. For 9 years, loss had taught Vincent one lesson over and over. Do not depend on anyone. Do not build routines around another person. Do not allow warmth to become necessary. Yet somewhere between blueberry muffins and crooked birthday cake, Gloria had become part of the shape of his days. He had not noticed the dependence forming because it looked too ordinary to fear. When he asked, tomorrow morning, Vincent turned toward the window. Bare branches moved beyond the glass, and the late autumn sky had begun fading to silver. You already decided. Yes. Before telling me. I am telling you now. Silence filled the room, but it was not the hard silence that once ruled his house. This one held disappointment, affection, and something almost frightening in its honesty. Vincent finally looked at her. Will you come back? Gloria smiled sadly. I do not know. He nodded once, accepting the answer because she had taught him that respect sometimes meant allowing uncertainty to exist. Then he noticed the recipe card for Elena's cake resting on the nightstand. Gloria followed his gaze. I was going to return that. Vincent picked it up and placed it back beside her suitcase. Keep it. She looked at him. Vincent. It was the first time she had used his name without the formal title. He did not correct her. Elena would have wanted someone to use it, he said. Gloria touched the edge of the card. Then I will bring it back when I can. Vincent's eyes met hers. That sounds like a promise. Gloria smiled. Do not get dramatic. I said when I can. And despite the ache pressing against his chest, Vincent laughed, because for once he understood that caring about someone was not the same as possessing their presence. Gloria left the estate the next morning just after 7, carrying one suitcase, Elena's recipe card, and a paper bag Maria had packed with enough food for 3 days. Vincent stood near the front window while Thomas loaded her luggage into a small sedan. He had considered arranging a driver, then remembered what Gloria had said about turning every problem into an order. So he did something far more difficult. He let her leave on her own terms. Before getting into the car, Gloria looked back toward the house and saw him behind the glass. She raised one hand. Vincent returned the gesture. No dramatic goodbye. No promises neither of them could guarantee. Then the car disappeared beyond the iron gates, and the estate seemed to exhale. The first week without Gloria was uncomfortable. The second was worse. Breakfast returned to efficiency, but not warmth. Vincent still ate the blueberry muffin Maria placed beside his coffee, though he stopped pretending he did not care about it. On Tuesday afternoons, he caught himself checking the clock. Some evenings, he entered the music room and opened the piano without playing a note. Yet something important had changed. He did not retreat from everyone else. He asked Maria about her grandson's college applications. He approved Thomas's request for additional winter equipment without making him justify every dollar. When a new employee started in housekeeping, Vincent introduced himself instead of walking past her. Small things, ordinary things, the kind Gloria had taught him were rarely ordinary to the person receiving them. 3 weeks later, his phone rang during breakfast. Gloria's name appeared on the screen. Vincent answered too quickly. Everything all right? Gloria laughed softly. Good morning to you too. He leaned back in his chair. Good morning. Renee walked 30 feet yesterday without stopping. Pride brightened every word. The therapist says she is ahead of schedule now. Vincent smiled. That is good news. It is. She also says I am hovering. You? Apparently. Vincent allowed himself a quiet laugh. Gloria paused. There it is. What? That sound. He looked toward the bright windows. It happens more often now. Her voice softened. Good. They spoke for only 6 minutes, but after the call ended, Vincent remained seated with his coffee untouched. He realized he had expected Gloria to be the reason he changed. That had been the easier story. The harder truth was that she had shown him a door, but walking through it was his responsibility. A month after she left, the estate hosted its annual holiday dinner for the staff, an event Vincent had skipped for 9 consecutive years. This time, he attended. He sat beside Maria. He listened to Thomas tell an unnecessarily long story about a broken lawnmower. He thanked employees by name. Near dessert, Maria brought out a vanilla cake. Vincent stared at it. For teaspoons, she said. Absolutely not. The table laughed. Vincent did too. Then the front doorbell rang. Maria's smile widened before anyone moved. Vincent noticed. What did you do? Nothing. Maria. She pointed toward the foyer. Go answer your own door. Vincent walked through the hall and opened it himself. Gloria stood outside in a burgundy coat, one hand holding a covered cake plate, the other resting on the handle of the same old suitcase. Renee fired me, she said. Vincent stared at her. Gloria lifted the cake slightly. She said I was ruining her independence. For a moment, he could not speak. Then his face opened into the easiest smile anyone in that house had ever seen. Is that 4 teaspoons of vanilla? Gloria stepped inside. 5. Vincent laughed so loudly that Maria heard it from the dining room. And this time nobody in the Moretti estate found the sound surprising. Gloria's return did not restore the house to what it had been before she left. It made something better possible. She came back to work the following Monday, but the old arrangement quietly disappeared. Vincent no longer treated her like someone who existed only between scheduled tasks, and Gloria no longer allowed him to hide behind formality when he was clearly worried, amused, or lonely. Their breakfasts continued, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for half an hour when neither admitted they had nowhere urgent to be. Renee recovered steadily and eventually returned to work, though she called her mother every evening because, as Gloria liked to remind her, independence did not cancel family. Winter settled over the estate, covering the lawns in white and softening the hard edges of the stone house. One evening near Christmas, Vincent entered the music room and found Gloria seated at the piano. She was playing Elena's favorite melody more confidently now, still imperfect, but no longer afraid of the mistakes. Vincent stood beside the instrument until the final note faded. You improved, he said. Gloria looked up. That sounded dangerously close to praise. Do not get used to it. She smiled and shifted slightly on the bench. Sit. Vincent hesitated. I do not play. Neither do I, according to you. He sat beside her. Gloria placed his right hand over the keys and showed him 3 simple notes. He played them badly. She stared at him with exaggerated disappointment. All those expensive lessons available in the world, and this is what you bring me. Vincent laughed, then tried again. The second attempt was better. The third formed the beginning of a melody. Neither of them noticed Maria standing briefly in the hallway before quietly walking away. Months passed. The estate changed in ways visitors could not immediately explain. Staff dinners became regular. Birthdays returned to the calendar. The music room remained open. Vincent began funding rehabilitation services at the medical center where Renee had received treatment. But Gloria made him promise that no plaque would carry his name. Do good without needing applause, she told him. He had learned by then that arguing with her usually ended badly for his pride. On his next birthday, there were candles again. Not 42 of them because Gloria declared that number excessive and a fire hazard, but enough to make the room glow. Maria baked the cake. Thomas brought flowers. Renee attended on her own 2 feet. Gloria stood near the table wearing a deep blue dress she had chosen for herself. Comfortable, elegant, and completely unapologetic. Vincent looked around at the crowded room, at people laughing where silence had once ruled, and his gaze finally settled on her. What? Gloria asked. Nothing. That is never true when someone looks at you that long. Vincent smiled. I was thinking about the first morning you insulted my moisturizer. Gloria lifted her chin. That was professional concern. He laughed again, full and effortless. Then he became serious. You gave me my life back. Gloria shook her head. No, Vincent. You took it back. I just annoyed you until you noticed it was still there. He looked at her for a long moment before nodding. That answer was more Gloria than any speech could have been. Someone dimmed the lights. The candles flickered across the faces around the table. Vincent closed his eyes, made a wish he kept to himself, and blew them out while everyone applauded. 9 years earlier, he had believed grief meant keeping the world at a distance so nothing could hurt him again. He had been wrong. Grief had never asked him to stop loving. Fear had, and it took one woman, underestimated by people who saw her job, her body, and her skin before they saw her character, to remind a powerful man that dignity could not be measured by status and healing could not be purchased. Sometimes it arrived carrying a coffee pot. Sometimes it wore a gray uniform. Sometimes it laughed at your terrible jokes and refused to let you disappear inside your own sorrow. Vincent looked across the table at Gloria, and she raised her glass with that familiar knowing smile. He raised his in return. Around them, the house remained bright with conversation, music, and ordinary joy. The room did not fall silent this time. It did not need to. Everyone there already understood what had changed. Gloria had entered that estate expecting only a paycheck. Vincent had expected only another employee. Instead, they had taught each other something neither wealth nor hardship had managed to erase. People heal when they are seen. Respect begins when pride ends, and no one is ever too powerful to need kindness. And from that day forward, whenever laughter filled the Moretti home, nobody treated it like a miracle anymore. They treated it like what it had always deserved to be, part of living.